all the teams, all the time. It's Pro Football Wire's Nightly Recap with John Lund. Make sure you follow us on social media at PFB Wire and subscribe. Like and turn on your alerts on YouTube at Pro Football Wire. Now with the latest news around the NFL, here's Johnny.
Yes, thanks for joining us. It is week 7 because we still have 2 games to go on Monday Night Football, which we'll do at the bottom. But there you go, right there. The craziest game. I don't know if it's a game of the year. Everyone's talking about it at the game of the year. We'll get into that conversation, but lots of let's do that as we get you ready for, as we review week 7. It is PFB Wire, Pro Football Wire. Thanks for joining us. Sean Lund with you. Let me get everything straight there. As you can see on the right side, there's week 7 review, the Giants and Denver, Broncos and the Giants, the game of the day. But I'm going to disagree with some people in the way that they are looking at this game. I look at it like it's a total choke by the Giants. Denver did a great job of taking advantage of the chokeness of the Giants. We'll get into that. The thumbs up and thumbs down, Kansas City, Philly, Indy, the Rams, Chicago, Carolina, and Dallas. Your thumbs down continue to be the Jets, Miami, Vegas, Washington, Arizona, Jacksonville, studs and duds. We'll give you that as well. 49ers and Falcons on Sunday Night Football, and we'll review 2 Monday Night Football games. In fact, I got to grab one more thing. I don't know if I grabbed it, so hang on. Let me do a little bit of on-air producing here because I don't know if I got my studs and duds there. Let me move this over so that we can play with the studs and the duds. And let me just move this over and I'll get the studs and duds on the screen as well so that we have that a little bit later. But while I'm doing that, while I'm doing a little bit of on-air producing, thanks for joining us. It is PFB Wire. Make sure, as you can see right there, at PFB Wire in the Week 7 recap at the top, that you are subscribed to the channel on YouTube. All you got to do is subscribe to the channel. Also, please, please, please give us a thumbs up. That is good for the algorithm. The algorithm likes that when you give it a thumbs up. So please, if you would do that, that would be greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated, that you would give it a thumbs up. And also make sure that you're subscribed to the channel because we send out stuff during the day as well. So make sure that you have got that too. Let me see. I'm throwing a bunch of stuff up there. I'm not seeing what I need to see. Hang on one second. I may have put it as a video file if that's the case. And let me just get that up there. There it is right there. Remove it, and I'll bring it up a little bit later on the show. But to make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, hit us with the like, and please make sure those alerts on because we send out stuff all the time. Also, a good follow at John Lund Radio. You might be watching on at John Lund Radio right now on X. That would be absolutely great. Thank you for doing that. But also at PFB Wire. At PFB Wire on all of your social media channels, as you can see right underneath me, and the YouTube channel at PFB Wire. All the teams, all the time. That means we cover all 32 teams all the time. So all of your social media, please make sure that you're following. Tell all your friends and enemies as well. And we always do reviews on Sunday night. Monday night, we do previews and reviews. Thursday night, we do previews and reviews. Also on the weekend, and then we send out a bunch of shorts as needed through the week. And then, like I said, all the news of the NFL, we put on all the social media channels, especially on X. So at John Lund Radio and at PFB Wire. All right, let's start. And thank you for joining us for the Week 7 review. Let's start with the Giants and the Broncos. And what's crazy about this whole thing, and if you didn't see it, this is what it looked like. Let me just throw this on the screen first and foremost. This is crazy right there. Giants led at 19-0 going into the fourth quarter. The Broncos had not scored. After Theo Johnson scored a touchdown, it was 26-8. I didn't think that would happen, but there you go. 30-26. Jackson Dart scores a touchdown with 37 seconds left. You're thinking they pulled it out of the fire. They missed the extra point, which was huge. 2 points missed, extra points missed by the Giants. 32-30. That's why it was that way. Will Lutz kicks a last-second field goal, and Denver wins it 33-32. Just to give you a little bit of that, everybody loves win probability. So win probability, the Giants had it the whole time, and then you can see, whee, there you go. And if you need this to look at, that's what it looked like. So it's 19-0 going into the fourth. 30 in the fourth quarter. Just unbelievable. And a lot of people are calling this the game of the year. The way I looked at this whole thing was one team choked. I mean, that's as simple as you can make it. The Giants could have just sat on the ball and run as much clock as they possibly could have run, and they'd have won the football game. But a dumb interception by the young quarterback, Jackson Dart, which marred his day, and he was very, very good, and the guy is special, and he's going to be really good, and you should have taken him instead of Cam Ward. I said that again and again and again and again. He's got the it. But rookie's going to rook, and that's what he did. He made an incredibly dumb mistake on an interception that really cost him the game. I mean, the kicker missing the extra points. When you lose a game like that, it's a combination of things. Why I do think it's a highly entertaining game, and I was entertained by the game. If I own the Giants, if I'm the Mara family, I'm firing Brian Daboll right fucking now. You can't lose a game like this, and you can't fire the players. I mean, that's just how it works through the history of time. Players don't get fired. I mean, eventually they do, but the coach gets fired. And I do the hot seat every single week. Every Tuesday we do the hot seat. Mike McDaniel, we'll get into that a little bit later. I don't know. He's dead man walking, and he mumbles through every press conference after with his high. I don't even know what the pants are. That shouldn't even matter. But anyway, I digress. Brian Daboll shouldn't have a job tomorrow morning. He was in a hot seat anyway. He's not the long-term coach of this football team. Bring in another offensive mind, get another guy in there. It's really hard to change a losing atmosphere, and that's what the Giants have right now, and I like Cam Scatterby, who made another great play on a touchdown run after the catch, and Jackson Dart has it, and they've got a bunch of great pass rushers and guys like Brian Burns and Abdul Carter went down today, and I don't know what's going to happen long-term with Thibodeau or any of these kind of guys, but they have enough talent that they shouldn't be a 2-5 football team, and it's a complete embarrassment to lose a game like this. This is a total team breakdown. Now, there's two ways to look at this, and because it's New York, and because of the way they lost, tomorrow on the talking head shows on ESPN and Fox and all those other jackasses, what they're going to talk about is not that Denver won, it's going to be how the Giants lost, because that's where they're all sitting. They're all sitting on the East Coast, especially the ESPN shows. Bristol is right between New York and Boston. Greenberg in that morning show, and he's nauseating, is in New York City. And so they're going to just talk about how the Giants blew the game. And that generally, I hate that generally, because I like focusing on teams that win the football game versus teams that lost the football game. And I know that this is kind of semantics a lot of times, but the Giants lost the football game. You could take a knee 4 times, run the clock down to 1 second on the play clock and take a knee, being up 26-8 the way that they were, and you win the football game. But they just did stupid things. And, defensive coordinators do stupid things. They play prevent defenses. When your defense is playing like the Giants are playing and you're shutting out Denver, a really good team, on the road through 3 quarters, I don't know why you go to prevents and things like that. Just play the defense that you're playing. You've given up nothing all day long. Why would you change that? It's just the dumbest thing. It's like the only calm I can think of off the top of my head is in baseball when a pitcher is dominating. But, oh, my God, he's thrown 100 pitches. His arm's going to fall off. And they take the guy out, and everybody in the other dugout goes, God, thank God that guy's out. And then they just roll on the relievers. If something's working, don't stop doing it. Playing great defense. Nope, we got to get into a prevent because, they can't score on an 80-yarder. They haven't all day. And they're not going to do it now. So just play your normal defense. It's got to drive you crazy because New York had all this momentum. They beat Philadelphia. Everybody's buzzing. Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterby. The Giants might have something here. Brian Daboll staves off the getting fired talk. Like I said, I think I'll do it on Tuesday again, but he might. Mike McDaniel's dead man walking. If Mike McDaniel as a coach has a job tomorrow, then Stephen Ross, the owner of the Miami Dolphins, is just flat out asleep, or his weekend at Bernie's dead, or I don't know what he is. I mean, anyway, we'll get to Mike McDaniel in just a second. But the main story is the Giants and the Broncos. So give Denver their props for coming back in the game. Way to go. Good job, Denver. Yeah. But the Giants, not only did they blow a 19-0 lead, not only did they blow a 26-8 lead, they actually came back and took the lead at 32-30, missed extra point for the second time, and then their defense blew it again and gave up a field goal to lose the football game. That's just inexcusable. I don't care what the case may be. I don't care who did what. Brian Daboll should get fired. Great game to a certain extent, but Brian Daboll needs to be fired for that. Here is Daboll after the game.
Yeah, just that. Yeah, tough loss. Put their heart and soul into it. So, not a lot of talking that needs to be done when you lose a game like that. Everybody gave everything they had.
That's total bullshit. That's total bullshit. There's nothing that needs to be said. Yes, there is. Learn how to win the game. You play to win the game. It's a young football team. You don't say anything. Your quarterback's a rookie. What's that, his third or fourth start? Yeah, you say a lot of things. That's a dumb interception, young man. Can't make mistakes, guys. I'm going off because that maybe cost Brian Daboll his job. It would if I own the Giants. That's it. It's over. We haven't changed the culture of losing. You haven't changed the culture of what we're doing. We can't lose a football game like that. It's historically bad. They give up 30 points in the fourth quarter. You have to do everything wrong to do that. You're shutting a team out through three quarters, and you decide, you know what? We don't want anything over the top. Let's make sure that they don't beat us. Everything in front of us. You're kicking their ass through three quarters. Why are you changing anything? Like I said, the best analogy I got is, if you want to stay with sports, is a guy's like throwing a no-hitter. Oh, but he's throwing 100 pitches. Got to get him out. No. I'm playing to win the game. Too bad if he goes 110. Who? I don't care if he goes 120. He's throwing a no-hitter. He's pitching great. He's not going anywhere. And you don't need to change the defense. Prevent you from winning, and that's what happened. And then, all of a sudden everybody's butts get tight, and you lose a football game. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. So while everybody's calling this the game of the year and all these kind of things, I just look at it as one team choked. One coach should get fired. Can't lose that football game. You had momentum. And I'm not saying the Giants were going to go anywhere this year. And I like Jackson Dart. It's nothing against him. Dumb interception. Things happen. Weird, all the ricochets that were going the way of the Giants, like on the Theo Johnson touchdown, all of a sudden they went to the Broncos. I've never seen a flip in a game like that. And if you're a head coach, you can't lose that football game. So I'll do one of the things I hate to do, which is focus on the team that lost the football game. And while Brian Daboll, I think, was hanging by a thread, maybe not as much as Mike McDaniel or Kevin Stefanski, who the Browns won, and we'll get into that, but at the expense of Miami, who's just dead in the water. So I'd put Brian Daboll number 2 on my hot seat list, which we'll do on Tuesday here at PFB Wire. But you can't lose that football game. I mean, there's just nothing. There's nothing else to say except for here's Jackson Dart.
I gotta be way better than that. I mean, that's just unacceptable. Yeah, I gotta be better.
I feel bad for the kid because that's just part of the deal, that you're going to lose a football game. I really don't put a ton of blame on him. The interception was stupid. Without that, they win the game. Without a kicker who misses extra points, they win the game. I mean, there's all these different things. It's a complete and utter breakdown, but there's one person who has to pay for it, and I keep saying it. It's the head coach. It's just how it has to go. I didn't even think they'd be this close. I mean, I give them a ton of credit, but as you're continuing to watch the game, and after a while, I didn't watch it, and then all of a sudden they were coming back, and you're watching on Sunday Ticket, and you got the 4 games going on, and I'm like, I don't need to see the Denver Giants game. Giants have that game. So look, if I'm a Giants fan tonight, I want a new coach in the morning. I think that's the way it should be. You cannot lose a game like this, because if I'm a player. And I've talked to many through the years. Believe me, I'm as unathletic as they come, but I've hosted many, many shows. I've covered many, many games over 30 years. You're going to lose the players that way. You lose a game like that, this guy can't lead us to victory. We don't have a winning culture. You cannot lose a football game like that. You cannot give up 30 points in the fourth quarter, because you know what's going to start happening, especially on the defensive side, because they had them shut out for 3 quarters and then they changed the defensive scheme. Hey, we're cool, man. Just they can get chunks of yards. That's fine. Just nothing over the top. That whole, the whole prevent thing. Defensive players are just going to go, nah. Like Brian Burns after the game was all these guys. They're like, wait a minute. We shut him out for 3 quarters. It's like the military. You've got to follow and okay, yes, sir, sir, yes, sir, sir, yes, sir. Like they call the defense, you just play the defense. And again, players play, coaches coach. I get it. They still shouldn't have lost the football game. And one of the tougher things to do, and I give the Giants credit for this, because they did drive down and take the lead. Of course, they missed the extra point. Who knows what would have happened in overtime. But you take the foot off the pedal and then you try to refocus your team, and it was really difficult to do. But once you take the aggressiveness out of the defense, and that's exactly what the Giants did, let's just play prevent. We're up 19-0. We're up 26-8. We're fine. You take the aggressiveness out of the defense, and then you want them to put the pedal back on the metal. It's really difficult to do. And like I said, it's because I've talked to tons of guys through many, many years in every single sport, trying to refocus yourself with that line as thin as it is. You just keep playing defense, man. You've shut them out for 3 quarters. What are you doing? You're on the road. You're a young team. You don't just say, we got this one. It's ridiculous. And it's on the coaching. I don't care what players made mistakes. I don't care about, Jackson Dart's interception was bad, all these other kind of things, all these kind of mistakes. I get it. Players play, coaches coach. Brian Dable's out. So that's my first stop, Giants and Denver. Any questions, comments, thoughts, put them right underneath the show here or at John Lund Radio, or better yet, at PFB Wire on X. And you can see right underneath me, whether it be X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, wherever it is, and right here, YouTube. Please make sure that you give us your comments, questions, or thoughts. So that is the game of the day. Denver, the Broncos, beat the Giants 33-32, despite the fact, as you can see right here, there's no way they should have lost that game. There's no way that the Giants should have lost that game. They're up 19-0 going into the fourth quarter. They're up 26-8 with about 10 minutes left in the game. They actually came back after Bo Nix's touchdown. Jackson Dart scores. They missed the extra point, which allows Will Lutz to kick a field goal at the gun. And Denver beats the Giants 33-32. Love to get your thoughts on that game. That was the game of the day. All right, your thumbs up and thumbs down for week 7. Kansas City leads us off. I don't know if Kansas City is just that much back or if the Raiders are that pathetic. Speaking of coaches that need to go, Pete Carroll is going to be on my hot seat this week, and I know it's only in his first year. Reality is that Pete did an amazing job in Seattle to change the culture. The toughest thing to do in all of sports, football, baseball, basketball, hockey, men, women, whatever, any team sport, the most difficult thing to do is to change a losing culture. And as long as the Las Vegas Raiders are owned by a jackass like Mark Davis, then the Raiders will be just like this. You can bring in John Gruden. You can bring in Antonio Pierce. You can bring in Rich Bisaccia. You can bring in Pete Carroll. I don't care. You can bring in Jack Del Rio. Anybody who has coached under Mark Davis is going to have the same result because he's a jackass. And it doesn't matter if Tom Brady's part of the front office or whatever the case may be. A business either succeeds or rots from the head down. So when you have a great ownership in professional sports, they'll hit some bumps. There's no question about it, but not for long. When you have good ownership, your team will eventually succeed. That's just how it goes. These business guys, and here's the whole thing. A lot of these men, most of these men or women that own these teams in every professional sport, they're successful business people, but it doesn't mean they know how to run sports teams. And Mark Davis is clueless. How do I know? Because if you look at and this is not the exact way, but if you look at a media guide for a team. So let's just say Jerry Jones, for example, who is kind of taking the Al Davis route that he's old, and I'll give the Cowboys credit. But if you open up a media guide and you see Jerry Jones' name as the owner, you'll see pages and pages of things that he succeeded with in his life. If you look at the Raiders media guide, it says Mark Davis, and then you turn the page and it goes to someone else because Mark Davis has done nothing in his life. Nothing. He's never run a business. He's never owned a business. He's never managed people. He's never done any of those things. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he doesn't know. So bringing in Tom Brady's not a bad idea, but Tom Brady's not an executive. Hasn't ever been. Is he Michael Jordan? Just because you were great at something doesn't mean you're going to be a great manager. Doesn't mean you're going to be a great owner. Doesn't mean you're going to be a great executive. I mean, for every Jerry West, there's Magic Johnson. All these different guys that tried to do it, that tried to manage, that tried to run a team, that tried to, usually great players, because they see the game so much more advanced than the regular players. Like, don't you see that? Don't you get that? There's a frustration level there, and a lot of them just burn out. They just don't do it well. The best coaches of all time were not the best players. The best GMs of all time, a lot of them didn't play. I mean, John Lynch is doing a really nice job in San Francisco. There's a handful of them, don't get me wrong. But because Tom Brady was a great player doesn't mean Tom Brady's going to be a great executive. So I'll get into the thumbs down in just a second. So let me just say thumbs up for a second. This is one of the most unique and best plays, and of course it worked on the Raiders. Don't know if you saw it. Patrick Mahomes with the fake, like they're going to try to draw the Raiders off on 4th down, and then they actually go for it. And of course it worked because it's the Chiefs.
Own 40 on 4th and a foot. Tried to draw him offside.
It fucking never fucking works, man.
Sorry. Mahomes says, Coach, it doesn't
there they go.
work. He was faking it.
There they go.
He can get you. He got everybody. So, of course, and give that to Andy Reid, who was an offensive lineman at BYU and was never a great player, but there he is, and he's probably the most innovative. I don't know, he and Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, there's a number of different guys depending on who you like the most, but I would say the most innovative play caller in all of the NFL right now is Andy Reid, and a great play there, and of course it worked on the Raiders. So the thumbs up, before we get to the thumbs down, let me just stay for a second here on thumbs up. Kansas City beats the Raiders, not even close. We'll get to the Raiders situation and thumbs down in just a second. Philly comes back, and a perfect passing day, by the way, and we'll get into it in studs and duds. Perfect passer rating day for Jalen Hurts at 158.3, plus he and both of his wide receivers had great days in the win over Minnesota. A lot of controversy in whether TJ Hawkinson caught the pass that could have changed that game and won the game for Minnesota. Hawkinson, after the game, insisted he made the catch. My friend Mike Pereira said after the game, during the broadcast, if you saw it, it wasn't a catch. I thought it was. He said it wasn't. Maybe the biggest thing, though, that come out of this game, I don't know if you saw the game, but Minnesota on the tush push, this guy's got to get paid a lot of money. Put this guy and just laid him across the front. Did you see this thing? Check this out. Got a dude laying down. Look at that. Look at the guy underneath. He's absolutely getting crushed underneath there. It's like, dude, here's what you're going to do. Lay down right there. And then what happened was they don't get it. They go to it. Then they got to call a timeout. Here it is again. So they do it again. So then the play clock goes out because the Eagles are confused, like what the hell's going on here? And I guess the thought process with Brian Flores is this whole thing is if they're moving across, then they hit their defensive lineman. If they do that, that's clearly offside. So pretty innovative by Brian Flores. And part of the other reason is that what the Eagles offensive line is trying to do is they dive right on the ground. They're trying to get lower than you. By getting lower than you, they're leveraging you. And so what Brian Flores is doing, two things. He's laying a guy across the middle because if they move early, which they famously always do, then they'll hit that defender. So he's literally up against the ball. So if those guards shoot out like they do and they hit that guy, that makes it obvious that they were offsides because the whole league is constantly saying, look, they're offsides. Well, if you hit the guy laying there, 96 is laying there, you hit him first, it's clear that you were offside. Second, or that's the first part of it. And then secondly, he's already lower than you because he's just laying down. So you can't get lower than him. So that was the thought process. It worked. I don't know if everybody's going to do that. Look, here's the bottom line to that play. It's going to be gone. And I told you this last week. When Philly ran it 4 times in a row against the Giants on Thursday Night Football, and everybody went, look, this is not football, and everybody bitched and moaned. It's going. Like they didn't vote it out this year. They're going to vote it out next year. I'm not as upset as everybody else. I like the fact that Brian Flores and the Vikings were innovative. And my thought process and I've been very consistent about this in every single sport, is Just because you can't stop something doesn't mean you need to change the rule. Then stop it. Somebody's got to be innovative. And it looks like Brian Flores, who's one of the more innovative guys, one of the bigger risk takers, loves to blitz, does a bunch of different things, is the guy to do it. So now I wonder if a bunch of teams are going to play Philly or just going to lay a guy across and say, look, if they hit the guy, he's going to be offsides. It's going to be clear that he's offsides. And Philly kind of was confused by the whole thing. So is Philly going to line up their way now, pitch the ball outside? Because now, because the Vikings were completely all in on the tush push. I don't know where it's going to go. I just know this. It's not going to be in the league next year. So KC is a thumbs up. Philly is a thumbs up. We'll get more into it in studs and duds. Indianapolis, at some point, we're all just going to have to say that Indianapolis is the real deal. We'll get more into Jonathan Taylor in these studs and duds, but here you go. Third touchdown.
It's a good coach right there. It's Taylor on the acceleration. Touchdown.
Ian Eagle on the call for CBS. There's two things about that play that I need to talk about. Let me just do this one more time. Number one, Jonathan Taylor's great. Number two, the Colts have only lost one game, and we got to start taking them seriously. And number three, why, when you have perfection, why are you wearing piss-colored uniforms if you're the Chargers? Let's look at the end zone. Watch. Okay, see that blue in the end zone of the Chargers? That's perfection. Why are you messing with perfection? The powder blue uniforms that the Chargers have are absolutely, positively the best uniform in all of sports. I'm sorry, I'm not a fashionista. In my everyday life, as you can see, with just me wearing a backwards hat tonight, I'm not a fashionista. But the blue is perfection. Why do you go yellow? I mean, their uniforms look like urine. What are you doing? You have a perfect blue uniform that you should never not wear. Double negative. You should never not wear those uniforms. You should always wear the powder blues. And you're going with some, that's why you lost today. They're Volt yellow or whatever the hell they are. Whatever they are, they're terrible. And that's why you lost. I thought the Chargers were going to be a team in the AFC that were going to, now that Harbaugh is kind of getting his guys and be a physical team and all these kind of things, but they're not. The Colts are legit. I mean, at this point of the season, when you're through 7 weeks, you say to yourself, look, Daniel, because they've got a good defense. There's no doubt about it. But it was always, Daniel Jones, really? That's what it takes. And that's why quarterbacks are so important. If Anthony Richardson was playing quarterback for the Colts right now, what would they be? I don't know, 4-3, 3-1, whatever the case, 3-1, 4-3, 3-4, whatever the case may be. But this is a one-loss football team. And at some point, you go, okay. I mean, it's not like it's really tough to play. Believe me, I've covered a lot of games at SoFi Stadium. No matter if it's the Rams or the Chargers, it's going to be the other team. So it's not like it's a tough place to play, but to go out and blow out the Chargers at some point, you're just going to have to say they're good. They're a good football team. And the Texans are okay. The Jags showed that they suck, but that way that they got off and beat Kansas City a couple of weeks ago completely. They got beat by Seattle. Now they got beat, absolutely rolled by the Rams, which we'll get into in a second as well. So they're not legit. So, who's going to beat them? The Titans sure as hell not. So that's an easy division. They're going to win a bunch of games. And we'll get into the playoffs a little bit later on in the show as we'll look at the standings and we'll look at the playoffs because we're getting to that point where, hey, we're almost to the midway point of the season. All of a sudden, you're looking at this thing going, I guess we got to start saying that India is legit. Now, are the Chargers the ultimate measuring stick? They are not. Kansas City is right now, the way that they're playing. But still, this is a good football team. And I've kind of sat here the whole time and looked at it and gone, yeah. But I got to start getting it up to Indy. So they're on the thumbs up list. The Rams I just mentioned absolutely blew the doors off of the Jags today. And while the Jags are going to be in the thumbs down, so I won't talk a lot about the Jags, you're missing Puka Nacua. They leave late, and I've covered a couple of those London games. It's not fun. And you used to have to go in early and do all the media, and so they're able to go in whenever they want. They go to the East Coast first, and then they make that 12-hour flight over to London. And I have covered the games at Wembley Stadium. It's not easy. But when you have a guy like Davante Adams, when you have Matthew Stafford, who throws 5 touchdown passes today, and he'll be part of the studs, we talk about the big four as far as quarterbacks are concerned. Now, Lamar Jackson is hurt. I get it. But the big four in some order, no matter what order you want to put them in, Lamar Jackson's there, Patrick Mahomes is there, Joe Burrow is there, Josh Allen is there. Those are your 4. All right, when Burrow's healthy, obviously. Those are your 4. And then the list kind of goes after that. And everybody has this big debate about who the next quarterback is at 5. when he's healthy, when he's rocking and rolling, it's Matthew Stafford. I don't know why there's a debate about that. I know that he can't move. I know he's 37. I know he's got a bad back. I know all those kind of things. But he's got a Super Bowl under his belt. I don't care what happened in Detroit for many, 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 many years. Detroit was the problem. It wasn't Matthew Stafford. The guy's tough. He's got a ridiculous arm. He can throw from a bunch of different angles. He can move well enough at his age. And like Brady was at the end and Breeze was at the end and all these guys who have played so long, they know what you're going to do before you do it. So if you're going to blitz Matthew Stafford, that's fine. It's quick death versus slow death, whatever it is. If Puka Nacua is out of the game, Devontae Adams is there. If Devontae Adams is out of the game, then Tutu Atwell. I mean, he finds guys, and that's the mark of a great quarterback. Okay, a guy's out, I'm still going to play well. Unless Stafford is hurt, unless the back becomes an issue, the Rams are always going to be a part of the discussion in the NFC as long as number 9 is upright. That's just the way it is. Through 5 touchdown passes. And the Jags aren't very good right now. I get that, but their defense has been fairly consistent this year, and they shredded them. I mean, absolutely shredded them. So they beat them 35-7 in the early game, in the Wembley game today, and the Rams are just going to be a factor. We'll get into the standings in just a second, but my main thought is Stafford, which we'll get into him a little bit more in the studs. Chicago, I got to start giving them credit. They've won 4 in a row. Ben Johnson, I was a little bit iffy. I'm still not the biggest Caleb Williams fan, but you got to give it to him. Okay, you're saying, Lund, it's only the Saints. I get it, but it's an NFL game. They've won 4 in a row. I did tell you last week, just for fun, and we do this twice during the week, we do You Bet. So we'll do You Bet on what we're going to do You Bet this week, probably Wednesday. And I give you some bets. And I looked at some futures this past week, and I just circled the Bears and just said, you know what? Not for a championship. I didn't say that. But I did say, just for the heck of it, for the NFC North. And I know the Packers won today, barely got by the Cardinals. I know what the Lions are. They might be the pick in the NFC. I do that every single week. I make the pick. And the Lions right now are that team to me. They play tomorrow night against the Buccaneers. That's going to tell us a lot. That could be the NFC preview of the NFC Championship game. I think a lot of the Lions, but I thought, you know what? The Bears had really good odds. I think it was plus 1,300, I think is what it was. And I said, just throw $100 on it, just for the heck of it. Why not? Because they're kind of red hot right now. I don't trust Caleb Williams. If I looked at that division and said quarterback wise, trust Goff more, trust Love more, don't trust Carson Wentz or J.J. McCarthy. But I said, just throw a few bucks on it. What the heck? Why not? Because they had great odds. And that's what I do. I look at those things, and I don't give you the obvious stuff. I say, hey, these are something to just have some fun with. And I'm not saying the Bears are going to win that division. I'm just saying they're kind of hot right now. So you got to give them a thumbs up. Carolina, I'm giving a thumbs up. I get it that it was the Jets today, and the Jets suck. I get it. All right, they pulled Justin Fields. I'll get into that in the duds today, so I'm not going to play. I have some Justin Fields on. I'm going to play in the duds today, but I get it as a Jets. But it's a road game. Carolina's been a pathetic team. They gave up that pick. They took Bryce Young, and remember, they traded up to get him, and they gave the Bears another number 1 pick, and it was like, what are these guys doing? Bryce Young did get hurt today, so we'll wait on that, but Carolina through 7 weeks is 4-3. And Atlanta, again, this is one of those teams in Atlanta who looked good last week. 2 weeks ago, they got smoked by Carolina. Then they looked great last week. And then they go into San Francisco, or actually Santa Clara tonight, and they get beat by a defense that is completely decimated by injuries. And Bijan Robinson and Michael Penix and the whole crew there. And it was like 10 points, really? So all of a sudden, I'm looking at Carolina saying, is Carolina going to be the second best team in the South? Now, they're not going to get in the playoffs. I don't believe that. But, because Tampa's going to win that division. New Orleans is nothing. Atlanta's now up and down. But give Carolina credit, at least for today. They're 4-3. And I really like their head coach, Dave Canales, one of the nicest guys in the NFL. So good for him. And then finally, Dallas. And we are all loath to give Dallas any kind of credit whatsoever. But Dak Prescott is playing at a really high level. The defense is good enough without Micah Parsons. Jerry Jones is sauntering around like he's going to make a play for a guy like Trey Hendrickson, who Cincinnati is saying is off limits. By the way, since I brought it up, and we'll talk about it because the trade deadline is November 4th, what it means when you hear, because I saw this a bunch this week, I'm going to use Diana Rossini as an example. You got to understand what these insiders do. They get information, they give information. It's a give and take kind of a deal. So they'll say, hey, Diana, yeah, we're not interested in moving that guy, which means for these bad teams, we haven't got the offer we want yet. So if there's anybody on Miami, if there's anybody on the Jets, if there's anybody on the Saints, Cincinnati's kind of on, if they're being real with themselves, despite the win and what Joe Flacco did against the Steelers, if the Bengals are being real with themselves, anybody in the Bengals, like Trey Hendrickson, it just means they haven't gotten the offer. Doesn't mean they're not going to move a guy, just means they haven't gotten the right offer. So when they say we're not moving this guy, that's just a leverage thing. Because a lot of these teams, I'm not saying you move your biggest and best pieces, but if there's guys in near the end of their contracts, if there's guys with bloated contracts, if there's guys, those guys are getting moved. It's just they haven't gotten the right offer yet. So when these insiders, quote unquote, report things like that, and again, I'm just going to use her as the example because she wrote a piece on it this week, it just means they haven't gotten the right offer yet. Certain guys are off the market. Like Cincinnati always drives a hard bargain. They always do that. And the thing that's stupid about Cincinnati is you're going to either lose Trey Hendrickson for something or you're going to lose Trey Hendrickson for nothing because he's leaving at the end of the year. Because remember, the relationship is not good. They finally got to something at the last second because remember, Myles Garrett got a bunch of money. TJ Watt got a bunch of money. And here's Trey Hendrickson going, hey, I got the second most sacks in all of the NFL behind Myles Garrett in the last 5 years. Where's my money? And they gave him a 1-year deal for $30 million. And then he's going to walk at the end of the year. And he's going to get a lot more money on a team that might actually win something. So Cincinnati is sitting there acting like they have leverage. They don't. San Francisco, I know, wants to be involved with that. Dallas wants to be involved. There's a number of teams that need a pass rush. There's no question about it. But, here you are going, okay, Cincinnati's going to try to drive this bargain. Anyway, up till November 4th, we will do a bunch of stuff on the trade deadline. So, thumbs up. Kansas City over the Raiders, Philadelphia over Minnesota, in LA over the Chargers, who have been a disappointment lately. The Rams blow out the Jags 35-7. Chicago's won 4 in a row. Carolina's 4-3. And we are all loath to give Jerry Jones any kind of credit, but Dallas deserves a thumbs up as well. All right, your thumbs down, the Jets. They're 0-7 now. They have benched Justin Fields, a week after, and I told you this last week when we did the recap, a week after a reporter asks Aaron Glenn, are you going to stay with Justin Fields? Because they had net minus 10 yards. Completely legitimate question. I told you last week. We played it. We talked about it. And then this week, the guy benches him. And then after the game says, we'll see who the starter is. Tyrod Taylor wasn't much better. But how many teams are going to allow Justin Fields and just be mesmerized by his athleticism and realize he couldn't read a defense if it was like a, one of those books in your car? Like he can't read a defense. He doesn't know what to do. He can't scan a field. He's a great athlete, an amazing athlete, but he can't read a defense, which is the most important thing. And all the people who love this athleticism and they fall in love with it. Like, that's fine for fans to do. But these NFL executives again and again and again, Chicago, Pittsburgh, now the Jets, they gave him a 2-year, $40 million contract. I know it's not as sexy, but guys who can scan the field, guys who can read a defense, guys who can get through progressions, guys who are accurate with the ball, that's more important. I don't care what his 40 is. He's not going to turn into Lamar Jackson. I realize all these quarterbacks are getting resurrected in the league, from Baker Mayfield to Sam Darnold to Mac Jones to Daniel Jones. Like, it's happening. Let's just give these guys some time. And I could be wrong, but I'm probably not when it comes to Justin Fields. He doesn't get better. And the Jets were like, here it is. We're going to give you, here it is, keys to the car. And they've given him it again and again and again, and organization after organization after organization. What is this, the third or fourth one? Like, he's going to get guys fired. Now, Pittsburgh, they don't fire guys. Mike Tomlin's been there forever. They've had like 3 coaches in my lifetime. Tomlin didn't get fired over it. But the Bears, they changed their regime. The Jets, now that they're 0-7, I'm not a big advocate in firing a guy in his first year, but Aaron Glenn's damn close. Damn close. They're just a mess. The Jets are a mess. And he was asked after the game if they, are guys quitting on you? Or no, not quitting on me. Not quitting on me. Everything's fine. All is well. All is well. They're 0-7. They're not competitive. When Robert Saleh got fired a year ago, at least they had a decent defense. Now they have nothing. And they have injuries and all this kind of stuff. I don't know who they're building around. Like, if I'm Quinnen Williams, I'm going, what are we doing? If I'm Garrett Wilson, I'm going, what are we doing? Like, they've got a few players that could probably get them some stuff back. They're like an expansion team, kind of like the Raiders, which we'll get into in a minute. Like, those teams are expansion teams. They need to start over. They don't have their franchise quarterback. They don't have the right coach in place. They don't have a winning culture. They don't have enough talent. They're a joke. The Jets are a complete joke. And Aaron Glenn was a bad hire. We can already say that. He'll be on the hot list. He was on the hot list last week. I think he was 3rd. Miami's the other team that got smoked by the Browns. The Browns came into the game 1-5. Stephen Ross, their owner, what are you doing? Again, Mike McDaniel mumbled through a press conference today, and it was embarrassing. Like, what is he even talking about? Mike McDaniel mumbles and bumbles his way through a press conference today. He's been number 1 on my hot seat for the last 2 weeks. Miami's Tua came in today again. He was terrible today. We'll get into him in the duds in a minute. And Quinn Ewers came in, the former Texas quarterback. He's jumped Zach Wilson. He's the 3rd string quarterback. Like, they have nothing. Again, a team that just needs to, at the trade deadline, Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Jalen Waddle, like whoever. Come get him. We have everything must go. Sunday. Like, it's a big garage sale or an estate sale or whatever it is. Reset. Like Miami, the Jets, the Raiders, they're expansion teams. And Mike McDaniel gives no confidence to anybody. And they're doing that thing where they go through the locker room and they're starting to ask the players, hey, what do you think? What do you think of the job security of your head coach? What are the players supposed to say? Mike McDaniel's not going to survive this, but I've thought that for the last 2 weeks. You just got smoked by a 1-5 football team, and Tua Tagovailoa is going like this. It's unbelievable how bad he's gotten. Terrible. Now, look, it's the team. He doesn't trust the offensive scheme. Clearly, there's a lot of issues here. Tua's had a weird career, and I get it. He was taken ahead of Justin Herbert, and Herbert's got all these, physical traits that he's got, and Tua doesn't have those kind of things, and et cetera, and you're going to have to. But Tua could be one of those guys that just goes to another scheme and could be good. He can't be this bad. We'll get into it in duds. So there's Miami. They're terrible. Part of the thumbs down. Vegas, as weird as it sounds, so I just talked about the Jets, pathetic. Just talked about Miami, pathetic. Vegas might be the worst team in the league. Terrible. First of all, Max Crosby got hurt today. They said it was they were just keeping him out so that he didn't hurt it worse. They think he's going to play next week, all those kind of things. Because, they get in this game, and they're absolutely getting pummeled by Kansas City, and they thought, why are we going to play Max Crosby? He's absolutely awful. Just like I said with Miami and the Jets, this is an expansion team. Especially Colton Miller's out. They have no offensive line whatsoever. People that are making snap judgments on Ashton Genty, how can you tell? He's getting hit 2 yards in the backfield every time. Geno Smith is atrocious. Atrocious. They don't have Brock Bowers. How long have they been trying to fix their defense? My God, it's Max Crosby and nobody. Their secondary they've tried forever. Horrible picks that Mike Mayock blew and John Gruden blew are just eating them up. Free agents like Wilkins, they finally get a guy like Christian Wilkins. He blows out. He's weird and got a weird injury and weird things with his teammates. They've tried forever to get some linebackers there. Their defense is atrocious, just atrocious. And Pete Carroll was talking after the game today about how they're missing players and he's making an excuse. Are you fucking kidding me? The 49ers beat the Falcons tonight. They're a mash unit. They're showing Fred Warner up in the players area in the press box, or not the press box, in the higher levels up there, and he's got like his foot up. Like Nick Bosa's not even in the state. Like he's down in Florida rehab. Like if you have a winning culture, you're going to find a way. And I know why they brought in Pete Carroll, because they thought, you know what? We're going to bring in a culture changer. But you don't have any players. The Raiders are an expansion team. They've been trying it for years and years and years and years, and their defense is always atrocious, and their offensive line is always bad. And they thought they were going to bring in Geno Smith, and he was going to change something. Geno Smith, other than the young quarterbacks and Justin Fields in the league, other than like a Cam Ward, some of these young quarterbacks, and I'm not putting Jackson Dart in there. I'm just saying, Gabriel is kind of getting his feet wet. He's captain check down right now. Like other than these young quarterbacks and Justin Fields, Geno Smith is the worst quarterback in the league. And then you bring in a guy like Chip Kelly, who it was proven again and again and again. I was there. I covered his last year in San Francisco, and they went 2-14. His offense was so predictable. It was horrible. The end in Philly, horrible. The guy's not an NFL play caller. The guy's not an NFL offensive coordinator. And Pete Carroll wants to concentrate on the defense. Pete Carroll's a leader of men. He wants a defensive coordinator, even though he'll be part of that defense, and he wants an offensive coordinator who's self-sufficient. Chip Kelly's not that. Their talent is so lacking. And they thought to themselves, hey, we'll go get Ashton Genty. We'll be able to run the ball. That's what Pete Carroll's always wanted to do. And we'll play some defense, and we'll stay in football games. They didn't think they were going to win 10 games. They didn't think they were going to win the playoffs. But what they did think was, we're going to change the culture here. We're going to run the ball, play defense, and this will be kind of a base of the team moving forward. Pete will get us to a certain point where at least we're respected, 9-8, 8-9, get out of this winning 3 and 4 games. Pete will bring in a winning culture, and then we'll change this thing. But like I said, Mark Davis still owns the team. The head rots from the top down with the Raiders. Horrible ownership. So the Jets, Miami, and Vegas, I can't decide who the worst team is in the thumbs down. You tell me. Who's worse? Jets, Miami, or the Raiders? I know the Raiders will win 2 football games. I have no idea. Like if I'm the Patriots right now, they lost the opening game to the Raiders. I'm like, what? Before Drake May became something? I don't know how they lost that game, but they did. The 4th team on the thumbs down is Washington. I've told you since the beginning of the season, I just thought they played above their heads last year. Right to be a team that came down. Injuries are really hurting them. Terry McLaurin out again. Debo, what a shocker. Just the way Debo plays. I covered the 49ers for years with Debo Samuel, and all these people were screaming and yelling and up in arms that Debo was leaving. Not me. I knew he was going to get hurt. He does get hurt. That's a style he plays. So Debo's hurt, McLaurin's hurt, and now Jaden McDaniels is hurt. And again, it's not his fault, but every time I see him get hurt, to me, it shades of RG3 because Jaden McDaniels is thin. He gets hit a lot. It's not a great offensive line. They don't have a great running game. And here's Jaden Daniels getting hurt against Dallas.
Oh, and Daniels is slow to get up. Oh, boy.
Yeah. Oh, man. His legs got bent back on the blitz by James. Trying to hold it. I hope he can walk that off.
Yeah, he's got the knee brace on from when he missed 2 games on his left knee. I think that was the other side, right?
Yeah, his right thigh, right knee.
Oh, man.
Just a big tackle there. Tough to see.
Well, they'll check on Daniels. We hope he's okay. Cowboys take over.
All right, so the Cowboys win that game against Washington, but my bigger concern is Jaden Daniels. They talked about it. You hear Don Brady talking about it there on Fox, where it was the left knee. Now it's the right knee. You can see he's just not a big guy. And look, I think he's a solid quarterback. I like him. At the beginning of the year, it kind of reminded me of C.J. Stroud to a point because everybody was already anointing him. All these lists, which you know my thoughts on lists if you watch the show with any regularity. I'm not a list guy. Had him in the top 5 or top 10 quarterbacks. And I'm like, wait a minute. He's played 1 year. They had a great year. They came out of nowhere. They surprised a bunch of teams. Let's see him do it again. Like I wouldn't put a young quarterback, I shouldn't say a young quarterback, a rookie quarterback in a top 5 or a top 10 list as far as quarterbacks are concerned until he did it 2 years in a row. 1 year you can get lucky. C.J. Stroud did. I mean, C.J. Stroud's a solid quarterback. maybe top 15, top 20. But his second year, he struggled, just like Jaden Daniels. Like, okay, we're going to see, because we're going to hit him. He's a thin guy. And I know I'm making the comp because RG3 also played for Washington, but he got hurt. Haloti Ngata landed on him, and that was pretty much the end of RG3. He was never the same, injury-wise. And then he played that playoff game against Seattle on a bad field, and he was never the same after that. And I see the same thing happening. You have a bad offensive line. You're getting hit a lot. And look, you think these guys are nice? I've talked to a ton and done tons of shows with defensive linemen in my time. They're trying to knock him out of the game. Marcus Mariota came in and threw a key interception to, they weren't going to win the game anyway, but Marcus Mariota, even though he was a second overall pick in his day, he's not Jaden McDaniels. He's not the franchise quarterback. If the backup was better, the backup would play. That's how it works. So these defensive linemen, even though it doesn't become public because it'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe it. They're trying to knock the quarterback out of the game. They're trying to knock the starter out of the game because that's the most important position in all of sports. And if I knock the starter out of the game, that greatly enhances my chance of winning the football game. So they're trying to hit Jaden McDaniels, not only to sack him, but they know he's thin. They know he's a little bit frail. They know he's not Ben Roethlisberger getting knocked down there. They know that. And so that's what they're trying to do. We can get Jaden McDaniels out of the game. That's the second time he's been injured. And now it's the other knee. He has an MRI scheduled for tomorrow. Look, I hope the guy's not hurt. I hope that he continues with his career. You know, Lamar Jackson's a thinner guy who can run, but Lamar Jackson is so good at slipping through cracks, getting out of bounds. There's certain guys who just have that ability to not take a hard hit. You know, Josh Allen's 6'5", 240, and he takes hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. And by the way, it's so funny when I hear the broadcasters say, well, he's not 100%. No one is. But Josh Allen somehow gets away with it. You know, there's certain quarterbacks who it's like they get hit a lot. Hurts gets hit. Jalen Hurts gets hit a lot. Some of these certain guys, they don't get hurt. Jaden McDaniels is a wonderfully talented quarterback, but he's not blessed with that kind of bulk and size. And he can lift and he can do all these things and get a little bit bigger, all those kind of, he's not built like that. And that was a concern coming out of college. He's a really good player. He's a nice player. They didn't lose because of him today, but he's been hurt twice this year. And if I'm a Washington fan, I'm scared about it. So now they're 3-4 and they land on the thumbs down list. Arizona. I just saw a thing on Arizona. Let's see if I can find it again. But they've lost 5 straight games. They've lost, I believe, 4 straight games. Here it is right here. Cardinals' last 5 games. They lost 16-15 to the Niners, 23-20 to the Seahawks, 22-21 to the Titans. That was a joke. 31-27 to the Colts, and 27-24 to the Packers. They've lost their last 5 games by a total of 13 points, Arizona. There's a debate in the desert about Jacoby Brissett or Kyler Murray. When Kyler's healthy, Jonathan Gannon said it again and again, he's going to start. Had the Packers. Played really good defense today. Should have won the football game. Didn't win the football game. Jonathan Gannon, speaking of hot seat, probably feeling it a little bit. That situation on the sidelines a couple of weeks ago didn't help. But again, it's turning around a losing culture. And close doesn't count. You got to learn how to close games. 16-15, 23-20, 22-21, 31-27, 27-24. 5 losses in a row, total of 13 points. Your owner doesn't go, damn, you're getting close. I mean, that's just not how it works in football. Yeah, we're getting closer, we're getting closer. You go to the owner, hey, we're getting close. Look at that, 5 losses, but it's by 13 points. And what an owner is thinking is, you don't know how to win. I don't care about close. You don't know how to win. I got to get a guy in here who knows how to win. So I think Jonathan Gannon's his seat is getting a little bit higher. And then finally, Jacksonville. Everyone was thinking Jacksonville was the sleeper team, and they were great, and they beat Kansas City, and And then they get beat pretty soundly by Seattle at home. And then today they were non-competitive at all. And really, London is their second home because they're there all the time. Their owner gives up home games all the time to go over to London. They'd love to be over in London, but they absolutely, I mean, they were never in this game. They were down 21-0. Trevor Lawrence is a massive disappointment, by the way. Just a massive disappointment. Missed a lot of easy throws today. I thought he was going to be great when he came out with that class, and that class has been absolutely horrid. Think about that. That was Zach Wilson Lawrence went 1, Zach Wilson went 2, Trey Lance went 3. Mac Jones has somewhat resurrected himself a little bit. We'll see if he gets a long-term shot to be a starter, what he is. Justin Fields was in that draft. Just a terrible draft for quarterbacks. Terrible. But I thought, I wasn't sure about the other guys, but Trevor Lawrence was like, oh, yeah, won a national championship. I was at that game, covered that game. That was in Santa Clara, where the 49ers play. It was at Levi Stadium. I remember that night. This guy's going to be a stud. Absolutely. And at times, he has looked that way. But more times than not, you're going, he's the number one overall pick? Him? That guy? He just misses a lot of throws. They had a fourth down opportunity. Didn't wait for the receiver to clear the linebackers. And Kurt Warner was on the call and was like, you'd normally wait. I mean, the receiver wasn't looking. Now, again, could that be on the quarterback? Could that be on the receiver? He just makes a lot of mistakes on throws that are easy, Trevor Lawrence. And I just thought he was going to be so much better. Now, having said that, and he's not what Baker was or Darnold was. He's not that kind of a washout. He's just kind of in between. I'd say that for rating quarterbacks, I don't know, maybe he's 15, maybe he's 20. But you're the number one overall pick. You started a bunch of years at Clemson. I thought that Trevor Lawrence was going to be great, and he just hasn't been. He has not elevated Jacksonville to where they need to be. So those are your ups and downs: KC, Philly, Indy, the Rams, Chicago, Carolina, and Dallas on your ups. Your downs: the Jets, Miami, and Las Vegas. I don't know who's the worst team in the league of those three. Washington, it's not a surprise to me that they're 3-4, but I am concerned about Jaden Daniels' health long term. Arizona's lost 5 straight games by a total of 13 points. And Jacksonville, after beating Kansas City 2 weeks ago, absolutely, positively a dud today. Speaking of studs and duds, before I get to that, it's Pro Football Wire at PFB Wire. I'm John Lund. Week 7 recap, all the teams, all the time. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel at PFB Wire. Hit that like before you get out of here tonight as well. And if you would, because we send out all sorts of stuff through the week, not only on X, Instagram, Facebook, all of your social media places. So at PFB Wire, especially on X, make sure that you're subscribed, but also on the YouTube channel because we send out videos all through the week. So not just shows. So you got to make sure you're subscribed and you have those alerts on at YouTube at PFB Wire. All right, let's do your studs and duds. Let's throw them up on the screen here. Make those a little bit bigger. Can you see that? Studs and duds. I should have made that bigger. Matthew Stafford, as I said, I think he's the 5th best quarterback in the league after the big 4. 5 touchdowns. I know he's 37, but if Matthew Stafford is upright and healthy, and I know he has a back issue, then the Rams are going to be in it in the NFC in some way, shape, or form. Jalen Hurts with a perfect quarterback rating. They had been struggling. There had been talk of a predictable offense, but Jalen Hurts has a perfect quarterback rating today at 158.3. I'll get to his receivers in a minute. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Now everybody is back on the bandwagon there. 286 yards, 3 touchdowns, including that fake out, which we could play again if you want. Christian McCaffrey, another guy that lots of people are like, he might be done. Lots of whispers. The 49ers, we'll get into that in a minute. They beat the Falcons on Sunday Night Football. McCaffrey, 201 total yards and 2 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor has thrust himself, and I know it's a quarterback-driven league, and I know that a quarterback is probably going to win the MVP, and Taylor might be this year's version of Saquon Barkley, last year's version, or the year before of Christian McCaffrey, who wins Offensive Player of the Year because they give quarterbacks the MVP. But Taylor in the win over the Chargers today, 94 yards rushing, more importantly, 3 touchdowns. Quinyon Judkins, the rookie out of Ohio State, and he looks like he's the best running back I can remember. This guy was the last player in the entire draft that was signed, Judkins. Had some off-the-field problems, finally gets in with the Browns, had no camp, last player in the entire draft signed. Last week over 100, this week 84 and 3 touchdowns. And then you get to the Philadelphia wide receivers. Smith with a career high, by the way, 9 for 183 and a touchdown in the win over the Vikings. A.J. Brown, at least for a week, they won't be running to him, and there won't be speculation of trades and everything like that. 4 for 121 and 2 in the win. He caught the one that sealed the game late. They went for a deep one, and A.J. Brown was wide open. 4 for 121 and 2 touchdowns in the win. And then we always put a defender on here. Micah Parsons had 3 sacks, would have been 4 sacks. One was nullified by penalty, but he had 3 sacks in the win over the Cardinals. They had no way to contain him. He's starting to get comfortable, and this is what's scary for the rest of the NFC. It took Parsons a minute. I mean, he's, hey, go get the quarterback. But now he's starting to understand the defense. He's playing better and better. So Micah Parsons could be scary, even though the Cardinals really should have won that football game today, but Micah Parsons was all over Jacoby Brissett with 3 sacks in the win. So those are your studs. Your duds, I just went over the Jets at 0-7, and they replace Justin Fields. Fields was bad again today. Here's Fields after the game after being replaced by Tyrod Taylor.
But at the same time, I can't be mad at the decision. I understand why. It's life. It's football. I've learned to not take anything personal. Coach AG, I think he wanted to see if there was a spark.
I don't know how you could. Let me get myself on the screen there. I don't know how you could take it personal. You've played like shit for the majority of the year, and the majority of your career, you're a great runner. You're a tremendous athlete. I don't know if you got to go the Terrell Pryor route and become a receiver or whatever the case may be, but he can't get through progressions. He can't read a defense. He's completely confused. He had minus 10 yards passing. I can't believe he started the football game today. I thought Tyrod Taylor should have been the starter going into it. And it's funny to me that a week ago, and I was preaching on this very show a week ago, like, why would Aaron Glenn say that it's not open to debate who his quarterback is? They weren't. New York media tries to do this, but in this one occasion, after that was asked, I played it last week, and Aaron Glenn's like, "You know better. What are you talking about?" And it's like, yeah, you can't replace the entire team. That's the position on offense that you change if you're struggling offensively. You change the quarterback. He was minus 10 yards net passing last week. He was 6 for 12 for 45 yards before you pulled him this week. The offense is clueless. And Chicago tried it, and Pittsburgh tried it, and you're trying it. I don't think he's coming around. I don't think he's a Darnold. I don't think he's a Mayfield. I don't think he's a Daniel Jones. I don't think he's a Mac Jones. I don't think he's a guy that's going to come around. I just don't. I don't see it. I don't see progression. I see an amazing athlete. I see a guy that when he's in the open field, he's going to be tough to deal with. He's fast. He's big. He's strong. He's got great instincts as a runner. He cannot read a defense. He cannot get through progressions. He cannot accurately throw the ball. And he's got a good, arm strength-wise, he's fine. But he just can't do it. And I don't know. Is there going to be another team? Because he's not – look, the Jets are going to have the first pick in the draft. They're taking a quarterback. Miami's going to be up there, maybe second pick. They're going to take a quarterback. Vegas is going to be up there. They're going to take a quarterback. I don't know if Mendoza of Indiana seems to be the flavor of choice for everybody, but there's a handful of quarterbacks depending on how things roll out. But the first 3 are going to be quarterbacks. Justin Fields is going to be gone. What team is going to look at Justin Fields? I mean, is he, Mac Jones got a 2-year contract with San Francisco. I mean, if the 49ers say, okay, I'll tell you what, you're going to give us a 2 for Mac Jones? Okay, we'll trade him. Is he going to go to San Francisco next year? I mean, that would be ultimate. That would be Kyle Shanahan's ultimate resurrection project. He would drive him crazy, probably. But Kyle is the reason why it was Kyle's choice to take Trey Lance, and the reason he did is because he wanted that option to have, like, I got a running back that can run and throw. Oh my God. So maybe that's the ultimate resurrection, and it's his last chance. Okay, everybody goes to San Francisco. Sam Darnold did it. Mac Jones is doing it. Like, okay, here's your last chance in the league before you go to the CFL or something. Like, maybe he's going to be the 49ers backup next year. I don't know. But I don't know. There can't be another organization that says, you know what? We're going to give you the keys to the car. There's just no way. No way. Let me get the studs and duds back onto the screen here. Let's get that a little bit bigger. So the Jets 0-7. Justin Fields gets benched. I don't know what the hell happened to Tua. I was never a big Tua guy, and I'm not saying that he was going to be the best quarterback in the league, but to throw 3 interceptions, have a 24 rating, and to get benched, he's just lost it. It's confidence. It's confidence in the head coach. It's confidence in the plays that are being called. Again, I think Tua can be a guy that can go to another team and be a serviceable quarterback. He's just completely lost it in Miami. So he gets benched. Don't know if he's ever going to be the quarterback for the Dolphins. They're drafting one anyway. Their season's over. We talked about the Giants ad nauseum to start the show, up 19-0 and 26-8 in the fourth quarter. They lose. The Commanders, we discussed them, 3-4 injuries, but everybody's got them. But Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel today, and then Jaden Daniels gets hurt. Commanders fans are holding their breath. But I told you this at the beginning of the year. It just felt like a team that was going to regress. Just did. It felt like a team that was going to regress, and now all of a sudden you're looking at the division going, Cowboys, who beat them today, are actually playing really good football. Philly is back being Philly. If the Giants had won today, they would have passed up the Commanders or at least tied them. The Commanders are in trouble, and we'll see what happens with Jaden Daniels injury-wise, but that's the second injury he's had, and he's just not very big. It's not that I don't think Saquon Barkley is a good player, but all of a sudden you look at Saquon Barkley, and this is what they've talked about with the offense. They threw the ball really well. Jalen Hurts threw the ball as well as he's thrown it in since like a year and a half. But Saquon Barkley, a year after being everything offensively, is averaging 3.3 yards per carry, and he's on pace to rush for 896 yards. So if you were a person in fantasy football who took Saquon Barkley thinking, all right, Bijan Robinson probably went first amongst the running backs, but Saquon Barkley was right after that, or maybe he was first. 3.3 yards per carry and 896 yards. That's not getting it done. And then, like I said, Arizona's lost 5 straight by a total of 13 points. Those are your duds. The Jets at 0-7. Aaron Glenn's got a feel hot seat. 2 with 3 interceptions and benched. New York Giants lost a 19-zip and 26-8 lead, both in the fourth quarter. The Broncos scored 30 points in the fourth quarter. Saquon Barkley's averaging 3.3 a carry, on pace for only 896 yards. By the way, 1,000 yards is nothing in the league now. It's like 50 yards a game. There's 17 games. If you get 896 yards rushing, that's terrible. And I'm not saying it's all on him. I mean, it's the line. It's all these different things. But, man, that's crazy. That's a crazy drop-off for Saquon Barkley. And like I said, Arizona is perpetually on the duds list. Lost 5 straight and in excruciating fashion. So those are your studs and your duds. If I missed anybody, put it right underneath here. If I missed anybody, just put it underneath the show right here in the comments. I'll get back to the questions, comments, and thoughts. Those are your studs and duds. As far as Sunday Night Football is concerned, I got to be honest, I'm shocked. Atlanta had a great win last week. They're flying high. They're thinking to themselves, hey, man, we can challenge Tampa in the South, in the NFC South. We can be something. Bijan Robinson goes for 238 total yards. Drake London breaks out for 10 catches last week, and all of a sudden everybody's going, whoa, Atlanta's got the best defense. Atlanta's got one of the best offenses. Oh, my God, Atlanta's finally something. And then they come into San Francisco, no Nick Bosa, no Fred Warner. They're showing Fred Warner a bunch of times with his leg up in the air, right? Up in a booth, sitting next to his wife. Tatum Bethune, 48, which, by the way, was Fred Warner's number his first year in the league. Tatum Bethune plays a great game. By the way, the 49ers they had the second fewest sacks to Carolina coming into the game, and Carolina had 6 sacks today. So they sacked the quarterback the least amount in the league, put a ton of pressure on Michael Penix. Defensively played an amazing game. And if you don't know about Robert Saleh, unfortunately for 49ers fans, Robert Saleh is going to be back in the coaching carousel next year. He's that good because defensively it's Mikael Williams, a rookie, and Alfred Collins, a rookie, and Tatum Bethune, who's hardly played, and a young secondary. They had Darrell Luter Jr., who I was at training camp for the Niners watching him, looked terrible through training camp. He was actually great tonight. They played an amazing game defensively tonight, holding Atlanta to 10 points. Bijan Robinson wasn't a factor whatsoever. And they had Michael Penix, the young quarterback, who I think he's got an amazing arm, one of the strongest arms in the league, completely confused tonight. Christian McCaffrey was over 200 yards, put him in the studs category tonight. Christian McCaffrey was over 200 yards. And maybe the happiest guy, because he won his 4th game in his 4th start, is Mac Jones, who has a $400,000 bonus that he got tonight for winning the football game over Atlanta. So the 49ers beat the Falcons tonight on Sunday Night Football 20-10 in one of the most unlikely wins. And it's a home game, and it's a good, not great home field advantage. It's not people going crazy. It's not a real loud stadium. The sound leaves the stadium. So it's not the biggest home field advantage in all of the NFL. But the big story beyond McCaffrey, who rushed for the most yards he's rushed for in 2 years, and Mac Jones continuing to make plays. Jawan Jennings has high ankle sprains and broken ribs, and he's playing through this whole thing. George Kittle returns. So they get some guys back. but there's no Bosa. There's no Warner. There's no pass rush. It was Bryce Huff off the corner, whereas 47, the former Jet, played for for the Jets. He played well tonight. Tatum Bethune played well tonight. The secondary played well tonight. And they confuse Atlanta and hold them to 10 points a week after Atlanta was flying high. So the minute you think you know anything about the NFL, you know nothing, as the 49ers beat the Falcons 20-10 tonight on Sunday Night Football. Absolutely crazy that the 49ers would play that well defensively and get the win. Before we get into Monday Night Football, let's look at a few things. Let me share my screen with you and look at a few things as far as the playoff picture and those things are concerned. Yes, we can talk about the playoffs because now we're almost through week 7. So, again, let me start in the AFC here. The Colts, you got to call them legit. Beat the Chargers on the road today. 6-1 now are the Colts. Look at this. Patriots win again today. They're 5-2, and one of their losses, by the way, and they beat Tennessee. I get it. Tennessee's no good. But one of their losses to the Raiders, they could easily be 6-1. Drake May plays another great game. Don't let me forget I've got a slide on Drake May that I didn't throw you. The Broncos today should have lost to the Giants. They don't. They're 5-2. I've told you the Broncos are my sleeper team because of that defense. I'm not a huge Steeler guy, but they're 4-2. You got to give it up to them. They lose to the Bengals, though, on Thursday Night Football. The Bills had a bye this week. They needed a bye. They were kind of iffy. The Chargers, I don't know what to make of them. Even though it's Jim Harbaugh, they're kind of the same old Chargers. You know, game they should win, they lose. Game they should lose, they win. They're just inconsistent. They're 4-3. I think the Jags are dead in the water at 4-3. They're not going to win the division. I think they are ripe. Obviously, the Chiefs, 4-3, but everybody thinks the Chiefs are the team to beat. That's what's so funny in the AFC right there. Chiefs are not a playoff team as of today, but nobody would want to play them. Joe Flacco gets the Bengals out of the fire, 3-4. The Texans will get to. They play Seattle on Monday Night Football. And then I get to the bottom here. The Raiders might be the worst team in football, even though they're just 2-5. The Browns got a nice win today over the Dolphins, who are terrible. Ravens had the week off. Dolphins are a dumpster fire. Titans are terrible, and the Jets have yet to win a game. That is your AFC. By the way, it says eliminated nobody. Might as well eliminate the Jets, the Titans, the Dolphins, the Ravens, the Browns, the Raiders. I mean, seriously, you can eliminate all those teams. Buccaneers, great game tomorrow night. That's the early Monday night game. We'll get into it in a minute. Packers probably should have lost that game in Arizona, but now that Micah Parsons is starting to play well, he had 3 sacks today. I don't know how the Niners are doing it, smoke and mirror with all those injuries. I still don't have a lot of faith in them, but you got to give them credit for getting the win tonight without Warner, without Bosa, and playing a great defensive game. Eagles look like they're back on track after everybody screaming and yelling, and the offense is predictable. They go into Minnesota. Minnesota had chances to win this game. I'm not sure that TJ Hawkinson is wrong. I think that should have been a catch, but who knows. Rams looked very impressive across the pond in getting the win over Jacksonville today. Again, Matthew Stafford, 5 touchdowns. Seattle is on that second game. That's in Seattle, a really tough place to win on Monday night. Generally not a tough place to win generally, but on Monday night, the Seahawks have one of the best records at home in the history of the league. Lions sit there at 4-2. It's a very big game for them against Tampa tomorrow night. The Bears have won 4 straight. Look at the Panthers. They're over 500 at 4-3. Jerry World in Dallas at 3-1. I still think they're not going to be a factor. I don't know what the Falcons are. I think it was starting to believe in the Falcons last week. They get beat by those depleted 49ers. Vikings are a joke. I don't care if it's Carson Wentz. I don't care if it's J.J. McCarthy. They're not a factor. Commanders falling off the cliff at 3-4. Cardinals have lost 5 straight. Giants, a devastating loss. As I said at the beginning, if you missed us, Brian Dable should be fired for them losing that lead. 19-0, 26-8. He was already on the hot seat. The Saints, I don't mind Spencer Rattler. If they get a top pick in the draft, which it looks like they're going to have a top 3, top 5 pick, Spencer Rattler, I know he threw 3 interceptions today. I think he can play. The Saints probably would draft a quarterback anyway. So there you go. That's what it looks like in the playoff picture and the teams that are eliminated. I was going to just tell you what I was going to do for a Super Bowl pick, but we'll wait till the middle of the week to do this week's Super Bowl week. We do that every single week. So let me know what you think. You just saw the playoff picture who do you absolutely positively like that's going to be a Super Bowl team? Who do you think is teetering? What do you like? Who's a sleeper? Hit me up in the comments right underneath here and let me know what you think about both the NFC and the AFC. And then let me just double check on the games today. Let's see here. Stat leaders, conference standings. Did I do? Is that the one I want? Yeah, I want this one. And we just went through everything, and that's just the conference itself. Look at that. Isn't that crazy in the AFC? Indy, the Patriots, the Broncos. The Bills can get back on track really easily, but man, the AFC is wide open. Everybody thinks the Chiefs right there at 4-3. They are starting to roll, but you know what? The Raiders are that bad. The Raiders are really that bad. So I don't know. I mean, maybe they're that legit. Tampa and Detroit, that is the game. We'll get into that in just a second. Philly, I think, is back on track. Niners are really interesting with all those injuries. Seattle, I think, is a sleeper team. I think Detroit might be the best team in the NFC. Not sure what to make of the Bears. And then you got some weird stuff going on after that. So there you go. That is your standings to look at. And then we went through some of the players. We went through some of the studs and the duds. But let me just hit one more on studs and duds. Let me see. Weekly stat leaders. Anything there? So I don't care about how many yards you throw. 420 is a nice number, but I don't care how many yards you throw for. It's the most overrated stat there is. Flacco was legit. Hurts had the perfect quarterback rating. Carson Wentz was terrible. So was Trevor Lawrence. Don't care about that. There's McCaffrey in those yards. Like I said, that's the most he's rushed for in 2 years. 129 at 5.4 a pop. McCaffrey came into the game averaging 3.1 a carry this year. So that was a huge game for him. Like I said, Devontae Smith, career high 183 yards. Give it up to Rondé Gadsden, by the way. His dad played in the league for years. He came out of Syracuse. It kind of hot and cold. He broke Antonio Gates' yardage record for a rookie tight end for the Chargers. That's doing something. 7 for win 64 and a touchdown. Everybody's going to scramble to add him. A.J. Brown's not going to complain for a week about his usage like he had been doing. So there you go. There's a little bit on the stat numbers. So we are down to Monday Night Football. Tampa at Detroit, Houston at Seattle. As you just saw in the standings, both games are absolutely massive. If Tampa beats Detroit, Detroit as good as they are, and I think Detroit could win the NFC, could be in trouble as far as making the playoffs are concerned. Tampa could really legitimize themselves. They've played them a couple of times in the playoffs, lost both times, but played really well. That's a huge game for Detroit. One of my philosophies sports-wise is a lot of times it's what team really needs it. And Tampa would like to get this win. Detroit needs this win. I mean, that's kind of how I look at it because Green Bay is going to be tough. Neither one of those teams wants to be a wild card team. So you look at Tampa at Detroit. I think that Detroit wants and needs that game a little bit more. It's at Detroit. It's Jared Goff inside. I think Detroit gets that win. Houston at Seattle. Houston at the beginning of the year was not playing good football at all. Now they're starting to kind of turn around a little bit. And Seattle is our road warriors. Seattle's won 9 games on the road. And it used to be that if you went to Seattle and tried to win a football game, you're not doing it. It's just too loud. It's too crazy. You're jumping off sides. They're getting after you. It's a Legion of Boom. It's not like that anymore in Seattle. But on Monday nights, they have one of the best records in all of football in the history. So I think Seattle wins that game. They're just playing really good football. And here's the thing about Seattle, too. They haven't had Julian Love. They haven't had Devin Witherspoon. They haven't had Tariq Woolen, although that's not a bad thing. Tariq Woolen's not very good. I think Seattle's one of those teams that at the deadline, if there's a corner out there, I think Seattle would go get him. Woolen has not been good this year, and it's a walk year. Witherspoon makes a complete difference. They put him in the slot. They move him around. They blitz him. I think he's going to be huge. And Julian Love is one of the better safeties that nobody talks about. So getting their back and bringing that with Nick Emenwari, and they haven't had their whole secondary together because Emenwari got hurt against San Francisco like the third play of the year, or second play of the year, maybe the first play of the year. And then after that, these other guys got hurt. So they haven't had their entire secondary together for the entire year. And tomorrow night against Houston, they might. So Seattle's got a good defense under Mike McDonald, the former Baltimore defensive coordinator. He's doing really good things in Seattle. Sam Darnold's playing great ball. Jackson Smith and Jigba is playing well. Their offensive line is improved. If they can run the football with any consistency against DeMeco Ryans, which isn't easy, then Seattle could not going to say easily get that victory, but with the guys coming back from injury right now with Seattle, they stand a really good chance to win that game. So if I was betting just flat out straight up on those two games, I would take Detroit and Seattle, the home teams, which means Tampa and Houston are probably going to win. So there you go. That is your Week 7 in review and a preview of Monday Night Football. So again, the big story of the day, the Giants with a big lead. They give up 30 points to Denver in the fourth quarter, and they lose. KC, Philly, Indy, the Rams, the Bears, Carolina, who's over 500 in Dallas, get the thumbs up for today. The Jets, Miami, and Vegas, I don't know, flip a coin. Those are the worst three teams in football. Absolute dumpster fires. Washington, 3-4. Arizona's lost 5 straight by a total of 13 points. Jacksonville embarrassed across the pond, 35-7. Studs and duds. Sunday Night Football. Somehow the 49ers get a 20-10 win over Atlanta, although they hardly have any defenders left. And Monday Night Football is Tampa at Detroit, Houston at Seattle. And you know my love for double Monday Night Football games starting at 6 a.m. Pacific with the early game. I know, I say this all the time. You're like, Lund, I don't believe you. I was at the gym this morning watching the Rams and the Jags non-competitive. And it will not end until tomorrow night when the final whistle is blown in Seattle. How great is that? There you go. There is Week 7 in review. Do remember, at PFB Wire, YouTube. Make sure that you follow us on YouTube. Make sure that you have your alerts on. And please hit us with the like before you get out of here. That's on YouTube. On X, at John Lund Radio. You might be watching on X. But if you would, on X, go to at PFB Wire. You can see it right there above my head, at PFB Wire on all social media. So X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all those places. I put a ton of stuff on X during the week. So not only do we put short videos out during the week, but we put a ton of stuff on X, NFL-related news, breaking news, injury reports, all sorts of things. So like I say, all the teams all the time. So we put all sorts of stuff out on X, at PFB Wire. Make sure that you tell all your friends and enemies as well, even if you hate the show, because if like they're your enemy and you go, God, I hate that show, then tell them, because then they'll be mad too, and they'll be mad at you, and it'll be great. So whether they're friends or enemies, please tell them about the channel, tell them about us on social media. And by the way, if you have any tips or insights or anything like that, please hit us up as well at PFB Wire. Any comments on the show, questions, comments, thoughts, even if you disagree with me, that's fine. Hit me up with the comments under. I love getting back to people comments on the show. That is Week 7. Let me know what you think. Give me your teams. Give me your bad teams, good teams, worst teams, studs, duds. What did I miss here? And then Monday Night Football, we'll do a full review tomorrow night after the last Monday Night Football game. But there'll be tons of breaking news. Hell, maybe Mike McDaniel gets fired. Maybe Braden Dayball gets fired. So you got to keep it right here, because we will have your breaking news first. And so until tomorrow night, when it's Tampa at Detroit and Houston at Seattle, we'll do a Monday night review show tomorrow night. So make sure you are here on YouTube and X as well. Have a wonderful evening.